Hello, everybody. Today we're talking with Jeremy, and Jeremy has qualified for the Olympic Games. So we're going to have some discussion with him regarding the Olympic Games, but also more important, we're going to start with the pandemic, during the pandemic, how he's training. So, Jeremy, the problem that I've seen with most players is that when the pandemic started, some of them stopped training, some of them really found solutions to train, especially those that have tables at home. Or when it was allowed in certain cities, they go, they gather together and they practice together. So, in your case, what have you really done? Like, what have been the difficulties and how have you been able to handle this pandemic period?
This pandemic period was a pretty odd period because in the beginning, everything was shut down in March, April, and part of May. So the only kind of training I could do was at home in my basement. So I wasn't able to go out anywhere. I was only allowed to stay at home. So I had to find my friend to practice with me in the basement. Obviously, not as much as before, where I was training 5 to 6 hours a day as a full time professional. But I did my best, whether I can do 1 hour or 2 hours, or I can train every day or train every other day. I personally never stopped during the pandemic. I was actually practicing on a regular basis. Um, Not every day, but almost every day. But physical training, I always do a little bit each day to keep my shape. Yeah, and then in June, July, it
Just a
was.
second,
Oh,
just a
sorry.
second. Yeah, to practice every day, like not being able to practice every day was the reason why, because the practice partner cannot come every day.
Yeah, one reason why.
That's the reason, not
Yeah,
because
and
he
also like
couldn't.
we need to limit the number of visits because like if we do it too much, maybe it's not too good. Like it because we are technically not allowed to. Like you have to reduce your gatherings. I did the best I can during the time I was given. Yeah.
And when you say your friend, is this friend like your level or better than you or lower than you? Like how
I
are you?
would say hard to say. He is actually a student from China.
Okay,
I play with him a lot during the lockdown.
okay,
His
so
name is Liu Shuai. He's not bad level. Good enough to practice with me. As long as that's okay, then it's okay.
okay. And then you were saying from July something different happened.
Yeah, things started to open, and that's well, actually in May, June, around that time, when things start to open, I continued some training with Eugene. Uh, and then in the summer, we had a national camp, so everything was kind of opening up. Everybody was kind of looking forward because everything was opening up. But then all of a sudden in September, things took a turn for the worse. So now all of our plans are put to hold another time. And right now we're almost back at where we were. Maybe not as bad as March, but we're almost as bad as we were in April or May with consideration to the lockdown. Yeah, almost like a lockdown.
So now you're practicing what again? Almost every day, but skipping some days. Is that how it's going?
At the moment, I'm practicing every day.
Every day.
Yeah, because at the moment the facilities are open and
Okay.
they only limit where I am is the limit 10 people only.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but in the Toronto downtown or Mississauga area, then it's a closed, not allowed to be open. They must shut down. It's a full lockdown. But we are allowed in Markham, the York region. Yeah, maximum 10 people. So I reserve my slot. Sometime I'm training with Eugene. I'm
Yes.
sometimes training with my friend. And we also have Ontario training. Yeah, we organize the Ontario training camp. Yeah,
So
with certain limit given the pandemic.
and you train still at home sometimes or not at all?
At home, not much anymore because I prefer the clubs. Only
Oh,
practicing my serve at home. Yeah.
oh, okay. Okay. Now I saw the situation with Mo Zhang. She qualified for the Women's World Cup. It was just
Yes.
played a couple of weeks ago in China. And she was training in Vancouver, like you know, she was training the best she could with friends, with the club, and so on. And she went to the World Cup, and her results were not very good. And I watched all the matches, and you could see not just her, but also some other players. They felt seemed very uncomfortable in the match, and some of them it was as usual, you know, like as if they've been playing matches all the time. So my big concern is all this training is good, but what should you be doing, or how can we help you to be match sharp, because obviously Mo, her level in matches dropped even though she was practicing a lot. You're a younger player, so matches, of course, are very important for you. Are you playing matches in the club, like serious matches, or are you just
Yeah,
training?
actually, with my friend, even in the basement, we were almost every time we practiced, we were actually playing some matches, like just for exercise for fun. But obviously, we took the match seriously. But it was really fun. Like we played in the basement some matches with limited space. We played in the daily club some matches. So in terms of matches, maybe the opponents at the moment are very limited.
Mhm.
But in terms of matches, I do get to play a lot of matches. But it's still not the same feeling as like a real tournament because it's been a really long time since I've played any matches. Yeah.
So, for example, when you go to the club, if I speak to the high performance director, Dayan, and ask him maybe once a week to arrange 3 or 4 of you playing a round robin, but like that counts, counts for rating, maybe a little bit of prize money, something to keep our top players match sharp. Because this is my biggest concern, is that there's going to be a lot of training. So technically, you're going to be really good, but then in situations where it's very tight and so on in a match, you may not be as good as you were before. So we have to find some solutions for that. So
Yeah.
think about it and let us
Yeah.
know how we can help you with this.
Yeah. Because I've really, in the last few months, it's kind of been up and down because in September, we were, even me, I was looking forward. We're like, okay, things are settling down. The pandemic is getting much better globally and in Canada. But, and I made actually some plans to go to Europe for training.
Yeah, Sweden.
But yes, Sweden to be specific. Yeah, Halmstad. Yeah, and then in the end, I actually had the flights booked. Everything was arranged, but I just couldn't do it given the situation and given how well every country has different way of handling the virus, and in Europe it's a different method as we do it here. They don't. They believe that more people should get it, so the population becomes immune from the virus,
Yeah.
which actually is a good point. But in Canada, we're used to mandatory mask policies here.
Yes.
So for someone to travel there, we really don't feel comfortable. That's
Yeah.
the most important thing.
Yeah. Also, now in Europe, they're closing down completely because of the second wave is very high.
Yeah.
So some of the countries now are completely closing down, not Sweden, but the other countries.
Yes.
Anyway, we will try to find something, because this is my biggest concern.
Sure.
Often some players are very good in practice and very good in matches, but then if they don't get the consistent match play, they lose, that fine touch. One thing that I used to do with, well, because of course I wasn't as good as the players when I was a coach, and we would be in a situation like this where they need to play matches. I would say, for example, to them, I'll play you a match, I'll challenge you, but you can only play in against me this third of the table on my backhand. You cannot put the ball anywhere else. If you put it
Yeah.
somewhere else, you will lose the point, right? And then the matches will be very close, because obviously they have to always put it in the same spot. And for them, it's precision training, right? So under no matter what circumstances, if they need to put the ball on the backhand, they would try and do that. Then we would reverse. So say, now you put it only on the forehand. So for me, it was very easy because I knew where the ball is coming, and I could, really challenge them by placing the balls in different
Yeah.
angles and so on. So you could do that with your friend. You could
Oh
set
yeah, definitely.
limitations to yourself, like making it easier for him, so that he has an advantage on you, but you still try to beat him with these limitations. These are something that you can maybe think about.
Yeah.
Another way you can do it is, let's say you have a particular pattern that you want to practice, let's say service and then first attack and then whatever. You can play the whole game like that. So you try and beat him with the same pattern over and over and over again. He knows what it is. So for him, it's very easy. For you, it's more difficult, but it makes you sharp, so that when you use that pattern in a game, that specific sequence, let's say, then you will be sharp as well. So anyway, try and find solutions like
Yeah,
that.
definitely. I've actually attempted to play some tournaments because after I decided like not to go to Europe, I was actually because for a while Europe had a lot of cases, and the number of combined cases of coronavirus in Europe was actually greater than the U.S. in October, September,
Yeah.
because the U.S. was just one country, whereas all the countries they're getting a lot of cases.
Yes.
So I was thinking in U.S. they restarted to play some tournaments. In the beginning, I was considering to play some. I normally play the Westchester Open
Yeah.
or some other tournaments. I was thinking of playing them. There was a small chance I could have went in October,
Mhm.
to play Westchester. This month I was planning to play it. I really wanted to play, but in the end, given the quarantine restrictions, I just couldn't do it. And the Westchester this month, I was actually gonna play because they have this T2 challenge. It's a temporary tournament for me because anyway, we're not gonna be traveling. The reality is we cannot really be traveling in the next few months. So to find something locally or interregional would definitely make sense. But in the end, the tournament in the US even got canceled last minute because of their restrictions, and they've invited me to play their T2 challenge. So that's next year. They postponed it for next year, but in January. But we'll see what happens. If I'm still in Canada, maybe I can play some tournaments, or if the quarantine rule changes, that's something I can look into maybe. Some
Yeah.
temporary matches for me.
Yeah, in the meantime, try and be creative and try and find
Yeah.
ways to stay match sharp. Of course, once things get better, you can still go back to Sweden or to go to Sweden. And of course, tournaments in the States, I would advise you to be very careful because there the pandemic is really, really spreading. So it's
Yeah,
better to
at the
wait
moment.
until it's back into control. Now, you said you're professional. Professional has two meanings. There is professional meaning that you live from what you do, so you're a professional painter, or you're a professional table tennis player, or you're a professional doctor, right? And then there's professional in the sense of how you do it. So that you spend 8 hours a day doing what you do. So you do it in a professional way. You are still not professional in the sense that you live from table tennis. You're
Hmm.
carded, you win some prize money in tournaments and so on, but it's not enough, let's say, to say that it's a full-time income for you to play
Hmm.
only table tennis.
Definitely.
But uh, to compensate for that, you really have to think on how to be professional in your doing the activity that you do. That means in your case, normally a professional spends 8 hours a day on whatever their profession is.
Yeah, that's
So
the
you have
life.
to fill 8 hours a day of table tennis. So let's say you're practicing, I don't know, 4 hours, you still have 4 more hours. So you have to do some physical training. You have to think a lot about table tennis. You have to watch videos and so on. Do you do that sort of thing, or you try and do that?
Yeah, I try and do that. Watch videos of some. Actually, in the pandemic, I have a lot of free time, right, at home. I watch a lot of table tennis, whether it's U.S. tournaments or international tournaments.
Mhm.
Right now, the restart, right, the World Cup, some Pro Tour finals, those tournaments, and also I watch some of my older matches of Canadian matches, some of my newer matches this year. You know, I have a lot of time at the evenings, right? I can definitely watch, and there's a lot to learn.
And what about physical training? Do you doing any? This is an opportunity to do more, right? Because you have time.
Yes, for physical training, I actually do more than before, but a
Hmm.
different kind of physical training because I cannot go to the gyms as usual.
Hmm.
So I started using this like an ab workout. It's like the app on the phone. They have many different combinations. How long you want to make it, like 5 minutes, 6 minutes, or even 12 minutes. And I have a treadmill at home. Beside my treadmill, I have a bicycle, and then I have only one machine, but it's like an ab machine, but it's really high. It's the one where you kind of do like abs with the high legs. It's like a really high one. That's the best I can do at the moment. And some running outside. When the summer I did a lot, but now it's moved to the treadmill.
Okay, and your weight, you're maintaining your weight the same, more or less?
Uh, it's up and down, because sometimes the weight goes up and then you feel like, shoot, I didn't. You feel like you didn't do enough, right? Because you're just eating and eating. So I end up doing more. Then
Yeah.
I lose a lot of weight, and then all of a sudden I'm doing physical normally. Then it goes up again. So it's
Okay.
up and down, but I try my best to
Try
maintain.
and keep it stable as much as possible. You know, you gain weight when you gain muscle, so that's not so bad to gain weight.
Oh yeah, depends which
As
kind of.
long as your body is, is low fat, then it's okay. Okay, I want to ask you about the Olympic Games.
Sure.
I find that in your case, you got a lot of things relatively easy. It's not a criticism. I mean, that's your situation. Some people have to struggle a lot to get what they want, and in this struggle, some give up. Some the struggle makes them much stronger.
Hmm.
In your case, because your family supports you a lot, which you're very fortunate to have that,
Oh yeah.
you have to have a feeling that because you don't have the same struggle as others, as far as family support, finances, and so on,
Oh,
you have
okay.
to feel an obligation that you have to give back based on what you have been given. That means that in your mind, I think you have to think, okay, I got all this, I'm luckier than others. Now I have an obligation to pay back as much as possible by making what I'm doing the best I can. So you're going to the Olympic Games. Some people have the attitude, oh, I qualified for the Olympic Games. That was my goal. This is really good. I'm going to go there. I'm going to have a very good time. Others, the moment they're qualified for the Olympic Games, they start to think about what results they're going to have at the Olympic Games. So I want to
Yes.
ask you this question. To qualify from North America is completely different than qualifying from Europe or
Oh yeah,
qualifying.
definitely.
Yeah,
For
Europe is
sure.
the toughest one. Asia, you can still qualify relatively okay, but from Europe, it's very, very tough to qualify. So those that qualify from Europe, you can see that they fought a lot to get their spot. In North
Oh
America,
yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
it's a little bit
Definitely.
easier. I'm not saying
Yeah,
that
yeah, North
that
America, definitely.
I'm not saying that you don't deserve it. I'm just saying it's a
Yeah.
little easier. So, what is your thinking? What kind of obligation do you think you have to your family, to table tennis in Canada regarding the Olympic Games?
To do the best that I can to represent the country that gave so much to me. That's definitely my obligation to do the best I can. It's my first time at the games, so I will take it step by step, match by match, and I will work towards that. Definitely, it will definitely be a very interesting and exciting experience in my whole lifetime. So I really would like to cherish it and do a very good performance there. Yeah.
Okay, this is the this is the good answer for the press and so on. But now for me, I really want
Okay.
to get into what you're thinking.
Okay.
Like, what do you expect? Or let's say there's two things. There's expectations based on your ranking and so on. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe I win one round or something like this. And
Yes.
then there's the dream, the Olympic dream. What are you ready to do, and what do you see yourself dreaming at the Olympic Games? Do you have, for example, I'll tell you something that has happened before, is that two Canadians, Horatio Pintea and Joe Eng, I don't know if you know them or not. Joe Eng from
Yeah. I
Toronto,
heard.
Horatio Pintea from Ottawa. They went to the Olympic Games in 1988. And they played doubles in the Olympic Games. They had qualified for the singles and the doubles. Actually, Joe Eng for the singles and together for the doubles. They beat the best doubles team in Europe. Jean-Philippe Gatien, Gatien was very
Yes.
left-hand players like you, and
Yes.
they were expected to get a medal. These two, and actually they got the medal. The French players got the medal the following Olympic Games, but in 1988 in Seoul, they lost to the Canadians. The Canadians finished ninth. Why? Because the Canadians, took the Olympic Games just like any other tournament because they're not stars or anything like this. Whereas the French, in the French delegation, they were buddy buddy, with some top names internationally from other sports and so on. They got fully into the Olympiad before the matches, and they lost they had very bad results during the matches, the table tennis matches. Whereas the Canadian players, we stayed away from all that, and then when our matches were finished, we celebrated and we participated in the Olympic spirit, and did whatever the others did.
Yeah.
But prior to that, we didn't. So a lot of surprises can happen at the Olympic Games because some people are there for the first time. I mean, top players are there for the first time,
Yeah.
and you can beat them if you have the right thinking, the right attitude, and you put away the whole Olympic scene, to the side. And this is just another tournament, like the Winchester Open or whatever it's called,
Yeah.
that you're going to win. They're going to, okay, if you reach the semifinal, okay, still good. If you reach quarterfinal, it's good. But really, you have to start thinking now that you're not going there as a tourist. I mean,
Yeah.
everything you said sounded very good, I have to say. And any newspaper asks you the question, answer as you did before.
Yeah.
But now you really have to think, and you really have to put pressure on us, Table Tennis Canada, what we can do so that when you go, and we have to be very creative so that when we go
Sure.
there,
Yeah.
if you get the chance and you see
Take
the
it.
opponent, he's worried or something, you beat him. You can beat a lot. I seen you play. You can beat a lot of the players that qualified for the Olympics. And once you beat the first one, momentum builds up. You start to feel confident, and you can beat the second one, and so on. Just like Hugo Calderano. When Hugo
Yeah.
Calderano was playing a few years ago, he was nobody. And then he got to the semifinals of the Youth Olympic Games. After that, everything changed. You know, his
Yeah.
level of concentration went up, his confidence went up. People start to be afraid of him, so he started to go up, up, up. Now you know he's in the top 10 in the world
Yeah.
regular. I think you can belong in the top 10 in the world as well if you really want to. So now answer me again. What are you going to do at the Olympic Games? Jeremy, what are you going to do? Not at the Olympic Games.
Okay. At the Olympic Games, like in terms of achievement or just the way I.
Everything.
Okay. Definitely the Olympic Games to focus on the tournament first. What you said was a very important point. You know, because especially for me as a first time to go to the such a big tournament, even with Pan Am Games last year, it was really overwhelming. I mean, the athletes' village, how all the athletes are together in one area. We take buses here and there. We always get to like sign autographs every time we leave the village. It's a really different experience. So to really put the mindset into the competition is definitely the most important because all the hard work I've done in terms of training preparation, if I don't have the same mentality I had, such as in the training, I won't perform well at the Olympic Games because I'm too focused on the other stuff. So I should focus on my matches first. Match by match, I do the best I can. See the opponent, study the opponent, sleep on time, do all the procedures properly, try to win match by match. You know, I'm not gonna say like at the moment I want to get to this position or that position. For me, it definitely be match by match.